I'm Susanna Cluff-Clyburne, and I'm the Senior Director of Parliamentary Affairs at the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. And with me is John Lagimodiere. John is the CEO of ACS, Aboriginal Consulting Services, and he's also the editor-publisher of Eagle Feather News. And John is based in Saskatoon. John is also the chair of the Canadian Chamber's Indigenous Affairs Committee. John, thanks very much for taking the time to speak with me. Well, we hear a lot about the impact of COVID-19 on small and medium businesses at the broad level. You're giving us an opportunity today to get an entrepreneur's perspective on what COVID-19 has meant to you. So, but before we get started with that, can you just tell me a little bit about ACS, Aboriginal Consulting Services, and your publication, Eagle Feather News?
You bet. And thanks for having me on, Susanna, and keeping these conversations going. It's good to share, right? My company delivers Aboriginal awareness or Indigenous awareness seminars, have been since 1997. Clients include the province of Saskatchewan, Nutrien, BHP Billiton, Mosaic, multiple other grassroots. So 1 day, half day, 2 day Aboriginal awareness seminars. Where's what the history, truth, reconciliation, duty to consult, how do we go forward? And then I also have a newspaper, a monthly newspaper called Eagle Feather News. I've been covering Indigenous issues in Saskatchewan since 1998. We also have a daily news website, averages about 30,000 visitors a month, so check us out online. And so between those two things, we got a bit of a going concern here right in the middle of the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, I bet you do.
Yeah.
John, has the COVID-19 crisis affected your business, either the publication or the consulting side of your businesses?
Yeah, both ways. Obviously, with the seminars, we're delivering those in front of people, 25 to 50 people in a classroom. So as soon as the province announced in March 12th-ish around there, or 16th, cancellations galore, obviously. So we lost right through to the end of June was kind of canceled as people reacted, like, what do we do? So that was gutted and really worried about like what's going to happen in September. Are we going to be able to go back to this kind of model? So lost 2 months of revenues without a doubt. Fortunately, that's been replaced a bit because a lot of those clients, new reality, got all these people working from home. Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Life-Size have all become the de facto way to meet. And so all of a sudden, several of our clients said, could you do this on Zoom? Could you do this on Microsoft? And it works out just fine, right? You still get the interaction. They still see the presentation. You can still have question and answer. It's just you're not all in the same room. So we've replaced a little bit of that pain with some stuff, and it looks good for the fall. All these clients are, yeah, we can go online if it's possible. Some clients, all their people work in trucks or they're out. So, we might have to wait for that. With the newspaper, the March paper, it just went out. The April paper was very weak because I think that first month after COVID hit, everyone was just shocked, right? What do we do? They're pulling in. So we had a rough one. But our May and June issues are on par, if not above last year. So fortunately for us, we've been working from home since 2005. So our business model is go out to the client or use the internet for communication, website, copy, covering things. A little bit of a challenge covering stories when you can't go anywhere. So we're relying on different ways to get pictures. But, I knock on wood, I'm extremely fortunate that my business was that kind of adaptable and not reliant on other factors and no bricks and mortar. So we're very fortunate compared to other businesses out there.
Well, that's really good to hear because we know that a lot of small and medium entrepreneurs in this country are hurting, and they're hurting really badly. Yep. And I'm sure you're seeing that every day. Yes. John, have you been able to take advantage of any of the federal support programs that have been offered?
We are investigating it, but the only problem we're going to have is maybe a bit of cash flow 2 months down the line. That's our concern for September. But the federal program is being offered through Indigenous financial organizations. And I have a good relationship with Clarence Campo Development Fund here who helped us, get capital for our website and stuff. So they actually, the 2 days after COVID hit, they sent out an email, said we're not going to take any payments from anybody for 3 months. So we're chill on that. And then just 2 weeks ago, they're like, hey, we are administering the program for the federal government, the loan up to 40,000, that one, cash flow.
The
So we're
emergency
in
business
contact
account.
with them. Yeah. And that's the only thing we're going to need is that cash flow help, I think, because again, no bricks and mortar. Hey, so it's just a cash flow management, and they sent us all the forms already. It's going to be easy to fill out, and it's easy.
Great. Good. Well, that's really good to hear. And it's interesting because that's the concern that we suspected and has proven itself to be is cash liquidity for small businesses.
Yes. Yeah, that's absolutely it. So we're okay, and we got that plan. If the cash flow goes down, they're ready, willing, and able to help us. So
that's great to hear, John.
Yeah.
John, what are you hearing from other people within the Saskatoon business community, your clients, regarding the impact of the crisis on them? What are they telling you?
They're trying to do business as usual, and obviously a lot of our clients are what do you call essential services. So the mines are still mining, but they're taking on more payroll. They're have extra staff on shift. They're got to do social distance for a bunch of dudes going down a shaft. So they're taking on more costs, but they're still working. The province has adapted and overcome. I don't know a lot of organizations that have are just dire. My biggest concern in the Aboriginal community is a lot of our entrepreneurs are like mom and pop shops, gig driven, right? Yeah. So think of all the powwow trails that have shut down. Think of all the food carts around that. Think of all the vendors and the artisans. Think of all the cultural practitioners that would go into schools and do ceremony or explain cultural things. So in our community, the biggest impact is going to be on tourism and our gig-based economy. And those are the people that are getting the serve. So they're surviving and thriving, but they're wiping out a whole season of their revenue.
Yeah.
So those little, the micro businesses, like small businesses and self-employed folk are going to be struggling there without a doubt.
Yeah, and that is unfortunately not uncommon. I mean, it's not uncommon. You've got people in the tourism sector who are basically losing their whole season as far as it looks on it. Yeah, exactly, and that's a pretty bitter pill to swallow for sure. Are you hearing anything within your circle of associates and within the community about how the government has been dealing with the crisis? And I'm talking about the federal government primarily, but if you want to talk about the provincial government, that's okay too.
The federal government, and there's just another announcement today of more hundreds of millions going in. Originally, the little bit of complaint was it was slow because it didn't go specific into First Nation, Métis, Inuit issues, right? It was just big reaction, Canada, how do we do this? But they reacted well since, I must say. I'm not hearing rage or anger. There's always frustration, system, process, time, right? Hurry.
Right, yeah.
But I think what's been coming out, like the business supports, the PPE, into those northern and remote communities, they're actually quite happy. We've had some issues provincially around isolating some communities with outbreaks and flare-ups, but a lot of the problems that they're having there is strictly about intergovernmental communication, not actually what's happening, right? And I think coming out of this, it's gonna elevate the importance of ensuring that there's more of that how would you say, inclusion, consultation, more voices at the table. Like there's going to be a lot of good that's going to come out of this about how we do better, because people aren't going to, the world's changed. Everything's changed now. And I think it's exposing some issues, but those issues are going to be resolved through communication. And those were the only problems. The money seems to be flowing, but other than communication, I'm not hearing a lot of disgruntlement at all. Which is rare.
Yes, you're
when
right.
we're talking about the federal government and the Indigenous community.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
I think there's some good happening.
Well, that's good. And I must say, from our perspective, you know, the government has been flexible in terms of adjusting programs when they've been criticized. You mentioned coming out of this, and that's where I'd like to shift sort of the last part of our discussion. And so, as we're looking at coming out of this, out of the, you know, your economy starting to reopen, the economies are starting to reopen throughout the country. We're hopefully going to move into recovery. What should businesses and government be thinking about from your perspective as we sort of start slowly, you know, returning to economic activity?
Yeah, well, you know, and I'm still safety first, right? Let's be safe and do
Yeah.
this right and roll it out, and at whatever cost. The thing is, we're all taking a hit, right? So like we got to understand this is everybody, and I think that's going to be a good thing. Just slow and steady and incremental with safety first is how we're going to see it. And everybody wants to get back to work, but everybody also is going to have those fears. You got some people on the far side that are saying, "Hey, get back to work right now. This is all hoax," and all the people that it's like, "No, this is real. We gotta." So they want to get back to work and they want to do it, but I think a lot of them are all of a sudden rethinking some things. I think a lot of people are going to wind up being able to work from home now. And I think a lot of meetings that were once deemed necessary will be now deemed, oh, we can just do it on Zoom.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to change the way we do some things. And, you know, my blessing here has been my work has taken me across this province 3 days a week, 4 weeks a month. I'm out of home and office for 3 of those days, Swift Current, Regina, wherever it might be. My gift has been I've been home now, and working from home and being able to do my job still like this. I'm like, I'm going to try and encourage as many of my clients as I can
That is
to continue
awesome.
doing it online. And I think it showed us a way about what's important and how maybe that work week or workplace that will never be again. But what's that new one going to look like? And I think people are excited about that and welcoming to it, because I think we were due for a change, and sometimes it takes horrific things like this pandemic to make us change.
John, thanks a lot. I have to say this has been a very uplifting conversation for me, and
Gotta
I
have
really,
hope.
that's right, exactly, and I really appreciate your time. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, and keep up the good work at the chamber there. The voice is strong, and you guys are making things happen.